Alright guys, TacticalRab back again today. Hope you're all doing well and enjoying your day so far. Welcome back to Valorant News, and with Masters Copenhagen just a couple of days away, lots of talking points about the state of the teams going into the event, but also Sentinels looking for a fifth player right now, and also an analyst seem to have signed someone. Who could it potentially have been? Very much enjoy your thoughts in the comment section below. Hit the like button if you enjoy. Subscribe if you're new as always. I'd greatly appreciate it. Really upset the channel. Thank you very much indeed for doing that one. Loads of new subs yesterday, rocketing towards 21,000 subscribers. Really do appreciate it. Firstly, got to talk about a lot of things today because of course teams are arriving and have arrived in Copenhagen the last couple of days. Guild, their full team is there, looking to make a run. Obviously not far from favourites for the tournament, but cool to see this organisation make it with a great team they have from the European side, along with, of course, Fnatic and FPX as well. Now, Fnatic, honestly, this was looking rather good. Alfire, he gets his visa approved, so he can fly out there from Turkey to the event. There was some concerns that, okay, can Alfire get the visa sorted out in time? Is he going to be able to fly to the event? Turns out that is the case. He gets the visa approved. Great news. But it's not all good news for Fnatic, unfortunately, because Mystic tests positive, as you guys can see right here. So this is tough scenes. It happened, of course, to Turko before. The issue with Turko was, though, he tested positive before he flew out there, which meant that he couldn't actually fly out, and then by the time he was able to quarantine in time and fly out to Reykjavik, by the time he was even there and had to quarantine for a few days as well, once he landed, Fnatic were out of the tournament and he couldn't play and he had to fly home. So this time, Turko is there, and Mystic also is there, but, you know, of course, Mystic is potentially going to feel rather unwell, but still, they will be able to play. That's kind of the way these games work, is that they have facilities now, and they had it before as well, that's set up such that if one player can't play in the same room as the other guys, like, you know, 4 of the players, for example, can play in one team room, and then you can have like an isolated room, which is still connected by the same LAN environment, ideally, to what the rest of the guys are playing. So, look, Fnatic should still be able to play with their team. As Kojo says, the kind of project lead for Fnatic Valorant, there's no world where we don't play together as a 5 now. It's just a question of on stage or from a hotel, and with this current timeline and symptoms beginning, we're confident we will be able to play on the stage. No need to panic anyone, it will be fine. So I think probably they're thinking that by the time it comes around to the latter half of the tournament, because of course they're already through, they're the number 1 seed, Fnatic, from the European side, or from the EMEA region, so they move through immediately to the second half of the tournament, or to the kind of the bracket play effectively, whereas the other teams have got to go through the group stages first. So it's quite a while. It's probably at least a week away until Fnatic actually play a match, and therefore by the time that comes around, Fnatic, you know, they believe that Mystic will be all good to go again and everything should be fine. So we shall see. Either, of course, the question is whether they play from the hotel if necessary, but they're still very confident they will be still playing with their 5, so that's good for international competition, because I want to see what Fnatic can do up against OpTic and some other teams as well. Wanted to mention this real quick from the kind of Korean and Asian Pacific region in general, that Lakia, certainly a player of note over there, former Vision Strikers player as well, practicing with Damwon Gaming. Now, some interesting further talk from Bodork here actually about what's going to go on with Korean franchising, discussing that Korean slots in the APAC side for next year all depend on which teams get picked for the Americas League. This is something he was saying, that of course right now we don't know which organizations are going to get selected for the franchise side in the Americas, but what it could mean is that, let's say, organizations that don't get selected for the Americas League might well go over to the Korean League. Think about an organization like T1, for example, or not the Korean League, but just the Asia Pacific region in general, and the league that they're going to have out there, the kind of franchise ecosystem with 10 teams, hopefully 12, but probably 10 in Asia Pacific, EMEA, and then also, of course, the Americas as well as one region. Now, an organization like T1, if they weren't going to get a spot in the Americas, probably would tell them, hey, like, you know, we want you to be a part of our Asia Pacific League, and therefore they could go over there, and then depending on what team they build, there's an interesting question as to what exactly is going to happen there, right? But T1, of course, are building a roster right now, and despite saying they want to get into the Americas League, that is honestly far from guaranteed with the amount of teams that are presently applying. Now, another team that has been applying, of course, is Shopify Rebellion. Known initially from their female Valorant roster, they recently acquired the Luminosity Gaming team from, of course, formerly LG, because LG said, look, we're not getting franchising, we're out of here. Shopify Rebellion picked them up, did a cool announcement video relatively recently. Now, of course, speaking of that team, this is the thing where Riot might consider, hey, hang on a second here, like, what are we going to do? Because Shopify Rebellion, probably not an organization that was really on their radar coming into this, but now they've picked up a pro team in the kind of, in the open side, in, former Luminosity Gaming squad, and now they've still got a very solid female roster, which just shows they're kind of supporting the team across the board. This I thought was pretty funny as well. So the GameChangers North America is going on, effectively the main event now, where a winner is going to be crowned an Ariana Grande perfume takedown Immortals, which is kind of funny. But this tweet also happened as well. So from C9 White, Cloud9 White, I'm pretty sure their first series loss in in pretty much this entire season, or certainly in the North American side, has come yesterday to the Shopify Rebels, right? So that was kind of crazy. And even as Alexis says, only took them 7 series to get a win. So certainly some trash talk was going down. But yeah, this was the series. Shopify Rebellion GC, as they're kind of now known, took down Cloud9 White 2-1. And yeah, that was the first series loss, I believe, for Cloud9 White all season long. And that is certainly a time, well, of course, like proper series series loss. They got forfeited the other day. You guys saw the drama about that against, they were going to play that series against Immortals, but yeah, it turns out SRGC take them down. So this is the thing, really, if you're kind of a Riot right now and you're thinking, okay, how much do I really value? How much emphasis and impact these organizations are having all across the board in Valorant, not just necessarily in the men's side. So, you know, there's a question to be raised about that, but it does make an interesting question for Cloud9 White, because they need to go through the losers bracket if they want to qualify for, they're going to effectively the GameChangers World Championship, which is coming later this year after the actual World Championship, it seems. So of course they want to be crowned the champions of North America, but also they want to pick up all these circuit points so that they can qualify. I'm pretty sure maybe the top 2 seeds in North America go to the GameChangers World Championship as well. But yeah, Cloud9 White now find themselves in the losers brackets. They say they're going to get revenge. We'll see if it works out. But yeah, losing their first series is quite something really on that side of things. Let's talk Sentinels then. They're looking for a 5th player. We don't know who it's going to be. I believe you guys were also pointing out that Xander, kind of currently a version 1, a player that many people have said should actually have been a target for Sentinels. IGL, heavy fragging IGL, could be a player to take over from ShahZaM in that role, could help the team out a fair bit going into the LCQ. Apparently he is denied as well that that's going to be the case. Of course, we looked at yesterday that John QT has also said that no, I'm not going to be joining Sentinels either. So the possibilities are very slowly and surely, well, starting to limit themselves. Of course, they've said very much expect the unexpected or unexpect the expected. Is it going to be Zoms? Is it going to be Sinatraa? Of course, you guys have been letting your thoughts be known on that one in the past couple of days, but also they seem to have signed someone. Now, it does seem like the last few days they have been trying to pick up effectively an analyst to their team. Raucus, of course, as their head coach. It's been very clearly stated by ShahZaM that Raucus is not going to be the man subbing into their team. He, of course, wants to be their coach full time, because if he can't be their coach all the time, then they need another coach. But they have been looking for an analyst as well. This is what a lot of top teams have: a coaching staff, an analyst staff that can look into what other teams do, help prepare, because one single coach, there's so much on Raucus's plate if he's the only coach of the team. He's got to manage the personalities, he's got to deal with the scrims, organising the timing. He's then got to think about, in addition to all the out-of-game stuff, the in-game strategical stuff, what composition should we be using, what's the current meta by this team, what is, you know, Paper Rex doing on this map that we might want to look at and try and figure out what we can do instead. There's so much that goes into being a coach, inside of the game stuff, the outside of the game stuff, that usually having another analyst on board can be a very good idea. They've been looking to sign at that for the last couple of days. They say right here, still looking through analyst applications. God help us, there were some interesting ones, of course, that were coming through. And then Raucus tweets this out just about 2 days later. So either this is they found an analyst and they've signed him, or it's they've found a 5th player and they've signed him, more than likely. I'm kind of leaning the way of it being the actual 5th player on the team, unless it is, you know, of course, a Zoms or Sinatraa, where like the contract might not be too complicated, or in Zoms' case, they might not really have to do anything because he's kind of still there, and of course, Sinatra's still part of the organization. But yeah, I don't really know what you guys think about this, because in my opinion, they've looked through analyst applications for a fair bit now, but they only tweeted about doing that 2 days ago, and now they've signed someone, whereas if it was the actual 5th player, they seem to have known who that's going to be for quite some time at this point, and I'm surprised it hasn't leaked really more, to be honest. So yeah, what do you guys think? Is this the 5th player? Is this an analyst? But either way, they're going to probably need both if they want to have good success going into the LCQ. And with Masters on the horizon, of course, OpTic did the process episode last night. Thought it was fantastic. Watch the majority of it at the very least. I don't actually think Roger was involved in this one, at least in the filming process, but he kind of helped out with the editing after the fact. So the music and everything that they do is fantastic. So hopefully these guys can put up a good fight to defend their crown. OpTic and Exit, of course, the 2 representatives on the North American side, but I would still say that the favourite in most people's books right now probably will be Fnatic. But of course, OpTic are going to have to get through their groups first as well, which they did not find too easy last time out. This also to look at, this is the map pool going into Masters 2 Copenhagen. So this is effectively the win rate across the 7 maps in the game. Now, because this is from a regional perspective, it's always going to be skewed a little bit towards the teams that are in the less competitive regions. For example, the top teams right here, Loud, DRX, Northeption, and Paper Rex, with having on, let's say Loud's case, on 6 of the maps, they have 100%, between 100% and 68% win rate, and then they have one map with between 67 and 51% win rate, whereas all the other teams have a, somewhat worse than that. Even you look at Fnatic, for example, one of their maps is pretty bad. 3 of the maps they're excellent on, 2 they're good at, 1 they're, not too bad at, and then, of course, it's a pretty similar story for other teams as well. So, of course, this doesn't tell the entire story how these map pools potentially line up, but does show to some degree what strength and depth. It looks like Guilds, for example, have one map they're great at, the other one's not so pretty, but it's very difficult to look at specific implications until you actually see the map pools overlap for a specific matchup. Couple of stats here from Will Mider to close out the video. The top 10 rated chambers heading into Masters 2. So I said yesterday, how much is Chamber going to get used this event? Which compositions are going to use Chamber to its fullest effect? But pretty much every region has used him. It's just whether they use him that often, right? So Leicester, for example, is rated at 1.44. Ye is kind of like a decent comparison, and Turko as well from Europe. He has a 1.27. Ye is a 1.21. Forsaken, Meteor, Buzz, and Les. Less on a 1.4 for that is pretty much absolutely absurd. And this also on Duelist, right? Forsaken has a 1.51 rating with effectively sometimes the Neon, sometimes the Yoru, whatever he wants to use. It's kind of crazy. Alfire as well, generally on the Raze, 1.29. Kesnet from Crew. So, yeah, some kind of usual suspect names right here. And Zekken, the only representative from the North American side, in Exit actually as well. Of course, Aspas from South America. But yeah, thought it was interesting. Like, the matchups of these guys are going to be so much fun. I'm looking forward to seeing Paper Rex play again because Forsaken and Jing, these guys are just so much fun to watch when they are on form. And a nice little clip here from Jing to close out the video in very classic fashion here on the Reina. But very much intrigued to your thoughts on all this stuff in the comment section below. Hope you guys enjoyed the video. If you did enjoy it, hit the like button, tells the YouTube gods it's a good video, others like you should see it as well, and help grow the competitive Valorant community. Thank you for watching as always, take care of yourselves, and I will see you next time.
I can't use my wall.
One enemy remains.
Wow, G, wow.
Ace.
Wow.
Yeah.